Hi everyone, and thank you for watching. I'd like to discuss African poverty and highlight some of the main reasons why Africans are poor. There's this belief in Africa that black people are poor because of white people, which is not true. Black people are poor because of other black people. It's always been the case and it's always going to be the case. Well, unless black people decide to change the way they think and the way they do things, and if black people can make the right decisions. I've highlighted some of the main reasons why Africans are poor, and that's a lack of education, corruption, division, and incompetent governments. In today's video, I want to focus on corruption, incompetent governments, division, and the lack of education. In the next, I'm going to discuss division because that's one big topic, and there's so much to say about that. So let's start with the lack of education, corruption, and incompetent governments. If you look in Africa, the entire the entire government structure or political structure is built on just corruption. And I can promise you that at least 75% of the people in the governments have no higher education. They don't deserve to be in the positions that they occupy. They're incompetent and they have all the power. So that's one reason why black people are poor. The fact that the entire government is just built on corruption. I was looking at ministers of education. I did a bit of research on most of the ministers of education in Africa, and the majority of them didn't receive much of an education themselves. They're not highly educated. They can't speak. They can't read. As a result, they don't understand the importance of education, and they do nothing to improve the education that we receive. Africa's got the poorest education in the world, and I can promise you now, with poorly educated people, Africans will remain poor, and Africans are always going to look for people to blame. I did, some research on African governments. These people are stealing openly. They do it right in front of your eyes. They have no shame. They have no fear. They just take money, and black people are just watching. They watch and they do nothing, and then at the end of the day, the white man needs to be blamed for the poverty that Africans are facing. In the Congo, for example, in 2019, there was a change of power. There was a new president, Tshisekedi. He came into power and he arrested so many people that, were occupying some of the highest positions in the government. And these people were arrested for stealing. This one man was arrested for stealing 100 million US dollars. How do you even explain that someone can steal 100 million US dollars? And he's black and he's Congolese. Others were arrested for stealing 50 million, 20 million. Others fled the country. And so there was all these thefts in the Congo by black Congolese. And you will be shocked to see that Congolese are blaming France. And they're blaming white people for the poverty that is happening there. I watched an interview of Macron, French president, and he said he's not of the generation that rips off Africa. And young Africans are not of that generation either. So he said to young Africans, you need to man up. You need to make the right decisions, and you need to, start looking at your own governments, because that's where your problem is. In South Africa, we, in 2020, well, from 2020 up to now, 2022, the Minister of Health said the Department of Health in South Africa is responsible for stealing more than 120 million rand in just 2 years in 56 different cases of corruption. And so if you go everywhere in Africa, there's thefts going on. People are stealing openly. And it's like black people aren't really worried about black people stealing. It's like when black people are taking money, it's fine. But we're going to blame the white man at the end of the day. So which makes no sense to me. And I spoke of a lack of education earlier. And I said black people in Africa are poorly educated. In the Congo, when these men were arrested for stealing, people from the province and their supporters protested. And then a few months later, when those people were freed because of corruption, they come out, well, they're proven not guilty of stealing, but the money, well, we don't know where the money is, but this man is innocent. The very same poor Congolese celebrated the release of these people. And I was just watching and I was like, how are you black people poor because these people are stealing, and then when they set them free, the money is still not found. You want to celebrate. And we also saw it in South Africa in 2020, I think. When someone was arrested for stealing, people from his province decided, well, if you don't free this man, we're going to go loot malls. And so they went to the malls and the shops and they looted. And the police were just watching, they did nothing, just pretending to stop them. And so someone gets arrested because he steals money. And the money that he steals ruins the economy, which means you're most likely to remain poor, but you decide that you're going to go and loot malls, therefore ruining the economy even more. Can you see what a lack of education can do? It's like black people are making the wrong decisions in all aspects. When it comes to voting, black people are voting for the wrong people. When it comes to protest, black people are protesting stupidly, ruining economies while protesting, and they're protesting for the wrong reasons. And so my message to young Africans is, if you're 35 years and younger, you have no reason to be angry at white people. White people might have stolen from your grandfather, from your grandfathers, but the people stealing from you are black. Each African country has had at least 30 years of independence, economic independence. Some have had 60 years, 70 years. And for all these years, black people have failed to build strong economies. They have failed to grow economies, and they have even failed at least to maintain what the white people had left. You go to Zimbabwe, when white people were in Zimbabwe, Zimbabweans were eating. They kick out white people, now they're starving. You go to the Congo, when white people were there, Congolese were living at least happily. Well, they had salaries, they had food. They kicked out white people, now they're hungry, there's no jobs and there's nothing. And so my message to young Africans is, let's stop worrying about white people because we worry too much about them. White people are not responsible for African poverty. Black people are fully responsible for black people's poverty. Black people are stealing, and some black people are just watching and clapping their hands while other black people are stealing. And so, black people, we need to start making the right decisions. We need to start voting for the right people. And also just, it's important that black people realize that running a country is not about race. It's about being competent. And black people have proven to me for all these years of freedom and independence, they have proven to be incompetent to me. And personally, I'll vote for a white president anywhere in Africa, and I'll vote for white governments, but that's just my personal opinion. And so, yeah, black people, can you start making the right decisions? Can you start looking at the people stealing and ruining our economies? And can you just leave white people alone?